Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 336 of the John 1911 podcast. At least I think it's 336. It's been a hot minute, actually. It's been more than a hot minute since we've done a pod. We have almost, maybe by the time I publish this, we have almost gone a month without publishing a podcast, which for us is probably unheard of. In, I don't know, 6-7 years we've been doing this, maybe 8 years we've been doing this. As many of you are aware, that we've been dealing with a fair amount of construction and Operation Get Out of Cincinnati. And so, I mean, as you can guess, the construction has come to a head. And as we've gotten the major stuff done, we've gotten into a situation where, you know, we have small contractors that come in to do small things, or people that are delivering equipment or doing things, and they're walking on top of each other. And also with some of that, we have had some issues with the weather that I'll go into. So I did publish something on the website, you know, showing pictures of construction, but you know, I said it was going to be the last that we were going to do of that, because it's just not even, I mean, we're John 1911, we're a gun website, we're not HGTV. Like, you don't need to see, you know, oh, these are the outlets we're putting in, and this is the I don't know, we're sealing the floors, and this is the product for the floors. Like, no one cares. Like, it doesn't really matter. So we're not gonna do all that. But to kind of give people a general update, let's see. The wood in the living quarters is in, or the quarters. So that's all done. It's made between the spray foam and the wood in the living quarters, it's pretty quiet in there. But also, we don't have HVAC installed. And the other day, it was 84 degrees on property, and it was 68 degrees in that barn. 84 degrees, a black metal barn. If that is, and you know, there's no HVAC at all in this building. If that isn't a testament or a testimony for spray foam insulation, I don't know what is. That was pretty unbelievable. So for those that are curious, it's 3 inches of spray foam. I believe the roof has more. It looks like it has more than 3 inches. I think because, you know, heat rises, but we paid for, and it's 3 inches on all the walls. And then we even have some inside. So anyway, that was amazing. So 68 degrees. So I'm not even sweating getting the HVAC in there. I'm in the process right now of sealing the floors, and I've been that's been taking up an exorbitant amount of time. So a lot of this petty stuff is why we haven't been doing pods. Also, incidentally, I was going to get cracking on a pod tonight, but he's getting hammered out in Nebraska with severe thunderstorms. I'd reached out to him and said, hey, you know, we got to get a pod out. I'd like to at least give an update to the listeners. And he was like, we're 11 minutes away from getting hammered. And it's, you know, chances are he'd get knocked offline and straight line winds before the tornadoes hit. So he actually had a tornado come, I think, within, did he say less than 2 miles to his house? One of the big ones that came through Nebraska, you know, like a week or 10 days ago. That was pretty scary. So he's just been getting hammered out there. And that same weather has been affecting us here in the Ohio Valley. So the ground has been so wet, we've had so much rain, that at the John 1911 range with the barn, we don't have the septic system in. So I got the bad news earlier this week that things are so wet that they're not planning on even being able to dig the rest of the septic system until June. And this is like, holy cow. You know, like, we started this, you know, we engaged the construction people in November, and, you know, this thing is just, you know, going on and on and on. Not that it's unexpected, but, you know, we're looking at June to be able to have a toilet out there. So, there's that. So the HVAC is not going to go in for at least another week or so, because it's so wet that I'm kicking a lot of those contractors out, because we're trying to get all the floors sealed. About 85% of the floors are done, but I have to move equipment around. And then once the floors are finished, we'll hope we can get them done Wednesday, we can start bringing in heavy equipment and heavy trucks. And the reason I want to get that should make common sense. You know, I don't want to have to move super heavy equipment to seal the floors. I'd rather have the floors sealed first. If anything, it's easier to move the equipment. So there's that going on. We do have fiber optic internet. So have 1 gigabyte, and we don't have it configured to the way we operate, at the armory, but we do have it out there. So we can, in theory, start producing content out there and broadcasting it from that location. So that's very good news. Cameras are up. The wood is in. We've run power and cameras. We put cameras all around the property. We even got cameras out by the road for the gate because there's a vehicle trap. Once we put this facility in there, we've kind of operated this property kind of open. It's not open, but people that know it's there. The cops obviously know it's there, and there wasn't a road to get back there or driveway or anything, and we've never had anything disappear. No one's would even risk coming onto the property, or if they did, we never detected it. And I don't know, if someone's stalking you and you never know, does it really matter? You know what I mean? Like if someone came on property and I never knew about it and nothing ever disappeared and nothing bad ever happened, does it matter? You know what I mean? So, since we have a driveway and people know where to turn in and they see all the construction, we've had some looky-loos come by. We've even had, I guess it was a couple, the husband and a wife, and so they're driving down the road and they pull in. I was there, and this is right before I needed a gate, and I guess they're shopping for barn dominiums. And she's like, "Look, honey, that looks like a really nice barn dominium. Let's go take a look and see who the builder is." And not realizing that, hey, this isn't a barn dominium. This is a commercial property, and you're about to be charged with trespassing. So I did give them the Amish, the Amish guys' contact information, but we had to lock the property down. So also came as a surprise. Not that anyone, maybe some of you care. A couple years ago, we've had a number of accidents up on the road where, these country roads, people drive down, it's dark, they're drunk, even people that live out there, and maybe they forget the curve or maybe they miscount the curves. And for some reason, they Dukes of Hazzard it and they're like, try to straighten that curve. And we've had people kind of go airborne, clip through a telephone pole and knock out some stuff and tear and literally drive away. And the police are calling me going, "Hey, we've had an incident and, we're looking for them." And they know what the make of the vehicle is because of the parts that are on the ground. So anyway, we've had to run all these utilities out there, and I was complaining because it was costing a lot of money. I felt like it seemed unusual. Again, we're far from the road and we're trenching everything underground, whenever. And I even talked to some of the neighbors and some of the things. And it's like, how much did it cost to run your utilities? Or how much did it cost to do this? And, I'm measuring it out and I'm like, man, why is it costing me? It's costing me 8 times, 6 times what some of the neighbors. Well, one of the things I discovered when I went out and looked at the big pole they put out there, where they put it, they gave us a big metal pole. So this thing it looks like from a distance you'd think it's a wood pole, but when you get up on it, I've even got the make on it and a serial number, but it's assembled and bolted, and man, if a car hits this thing, you are not driving away from that. So I guess the county was concerned and they decided to upgrade the pole for the utilities, and I had to pay the cost. So, okay, there's almost 10 minutes of talking about construction, so we're turning into HGTV. Let's get off that real quick. Gun news or fire industry news or firearms related stuff going on around here. As those of you that are, follow our social media and our videos are aware, we started acquiring some of the Tisas. Is it Tisas? Is it Tisas or Tisas? Or I don't even know how to say it, so I'm saying Tisas. 1911s. We had picked up I don't know what Tisas calls it. We picked up 2. 1911 A1, but it's in 9mm with a ramped barrel, and I was like, that's pretty cool because we'd love to have a 9mm because that doesn't really exist. And everyone's talking about these guns are, at least for the money, might be okay. It's like, I don't really care. I mean, I shoot Wilsons, I'm more of a, you get what you paid for in 1911s, but these Tisas, a lot of you guys are buying them. I look at them as kind of video queens. I can pull them out, shoot videos, do some drills once in a while. I will train and do all of my bulk of my shooting with the couple Wilsons that I've got. However, we'll just run them like armory guns. Be like, you know what? We'll shoot a drill and we'll just pull out the Tisas 1911A1. Why that gun? Well, I wanted to have a gun that would, again, as a 1911 9mm, but it would have the features and ergonomics and kind of crappy sights of a USGI gun. And so it was like, it's a good price. Seems like they might be okay. We're not going to run a whole lot of rounds through these. It'll be fine. And that went fine. We did some stuff. We've been so busy with the construction. We're not producing nearly as much content as we would have liked. But, once we're done, it'll be triple. But so it was like, okay, what else does Tisas have that we could get as a video queen? And they make this, I'm going to call it the Marine Corps, for like the Force Recon 1911. Some people may call it the M45A1, or no, they call it the M45. I'd call it a recon. It's a recon gun or a MUSOC gun. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm getting confused. The M45A1, which is the Marine Raider kind of later generation. Yeah, I got it right. The later generation a gun. Colt made these guns for the Marine Corps. You see them all the time. They're tan. They have a rail. They have a double encapsulated recoil spring. They crack. The finish, I guess there was a problem with the finish. The Marine Corps surplused a bunch of them back to Colt and gave permission Colt to sell them to the public if they put an X mark through the USMC marking on the slide, which is, I guess, kind of interesting. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of like, we passed on them when they were 4,000 and they're 6,000 and now they're 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000 and it's in 45. And I'm just like, I don't care. If I'm going to shoot a 45, I've got full custom I've got my work 45. I got the backup to that. I mean, I've got a World War I 19, 15, 1917. I can shoot that gun. I don't need these guns in 45. Well, Tisas is repopping all these mil-serp guns, and they repopped the M45A1 in 9mm, which is, from what I can tell, looking at prices on the internet, is pretty unpopular because they're cheaper than the regular 45s because everybody wants the 45. I don't care about that gun in 45. I want it in 9mm. So we scored one, and messing with it, looking at it for the price, it's kind of cool. Again, it's a video queen gun. It's just like, not every video that I shoot with a 1911 has to be with a super expensive 1911. It's kind of good to, also kind of show that this stuff can be done with regular guns because it's about the shooting, not the gun at this point. So, well, this gun set a record. This M45A1 in 9mm. I have never had a 1911 break. I don't think I've ever had a gun break without firing a single round through it. And this gun did it. So, messing with the gun, dry firing the gun, working the trigger, getting used to it. I work guns a lot. I'm a big dry fire guy. Again, I'm not abusing this gun. I'm not dropping the slide on empty chamber. I'm dry firing a gun. And I'm noticing, there's really no such thing as a bad 1911 trigger. So just keep that in mind. But I'm noticing as I'm shooting the gun, or as I'm dry firing the gun, that the trigger is kind of cleaning up. And that's not unexpected. Sometimes if depending on how they coat the guns or they shake and bake them or whatever's going on, or just, unmodified drop-in parts, which is, I'm sure, what these Tisas guns are. They're just kind of wearing in, and literally from pull to pull, I'm feeling it. It's like, okay, get 200 or 300 dry fires into it. And I probably had a couple hundred dry fires into it over a couple days. Get out to the range, contractors are gone. It's a sunny day. Set up the camera. Just going to do some, I can't remember even what it was. Like, just going to introduce this gun. Again, a video queen. And I just go to work the gun real quick and, just getting ready. Like, oh, that's a trigger pull. This is a trigger weight. And since I'm working the slide, I notice I was just working the trigger. I wasn't actually dry firing it. I was just getting used to the trigger. So I would work the slide, pull the trigger. I kept the trigger depressed. I'd work the slide and pull the trigger, just getting the last few reps in, feel the trigger. So I look good on video. Hey, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of, practicing, and I noticed I was getting hammer follow. Like a couple, I'm like, wait, what? Like every once in a while, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I started messing with the gun. Holy crap. This gun broke. It is exhibiting hammer follow with 0 rounds fired. And it's like, oh, we're behind on content. We're behind on videos. We're behind on podcasting. The construction's taking longer. Operation Evacuate Cincinnati's taking longer. Not that you care, because you don't want to hear about my problems. And I have a window to shoot, because I don't like to shoot when there's contractors on property, because nothing gets done. That's another issue we're having. I've noticed. I've had to ban all shooting on the range when there's any contractors around. So I'm the only person that's really can shoot. Dang gun goes down. Immediately goes down. It's 0 rounds. I thought that I had a Kim in the late mid to late 97, whatever you would say that time was. I had a Kimber stainless gold match. That was a very accurate gun. It was like my first real 1911, and like it was a gun that showed me what an accurate gun could be. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I can actually hit stuff, and like I kind of learned how to hit things with that gun before, and so. That gun, I shot it so much and dry fired with it and trained with it and did all this kind of stuff and kind of came up on that gun. I broke something on that gun I didn't think was possible to break on a 1911. I wore out the grip safety. And I remember my friends at the time, they were kind of laughing, because it's like, I've got a grip safety that's 80 years old on a Colt. I've never worn out a grip safety. How do you wear out a grip safety? Well, it's a MIM part, and I'm pretty sure it was MIM. It could have been cast, but obviously it wasn't a high quality investment casting. And I literally just working the gun, grabbing it and shooting it, I wore out the little leg on the grip safety, and so it didn't work. The grip safety wouldn't work. You could, engage it, disengage it, and it wouldn't make a difference to whether the gun would work or not. And that was kind of the record of like a lower quality gun, and kind of what, you can get extractors and reliability and all that, but I'm just talking about like straight up like breaking shit. This gun, I broke it dry firing it without firing a single round into it. It's like, oh shit. It's like, well, now it's turned into a project. So, we have reached out to no one can talk to Tisas. We're talking to somebody at, let's see, what is it? What's it called? SDS in Tennessee. SDS, and I think it's SDS, and they're also doing business as Military Armament Corporation, MAC. So they're in Tennessee. They're an FFL importer. So we've exchanged FFLs. We had reached out to them. They know who we are, and we had reached out to them actually about these guns. I didn't tell you this. I had reached out to them because I was all of a sudden got interested in these 9mm guns, and like, hey, we wouldn't mind some T&Es because we're legitimately interested in them, and we like to do some stuff on them. And they turned us down. They said no, and which is fine. So I just went out and bought some, and instantly breaks. So I didn't know how to get a hold of them other than using their whatever thing. And I'm like, hey, this is the gun. This is what we're seeing. It looks like it's having that issue that you guys have with your recall. Cause you guys have a recall. There's like 4 guns, man, there's like 10 guns. We have it on the website, of guns that are, I believe their immediate recall, it's the Raider is what the Marine Corps gun, but there's a bunch of these guns. I think they're all in 45, and they want to change. I'm not going to speculate what the issue is in the gun, but they want to change something in the gun because the gun can fire unexpectedly. The translation, that means hammer follow. So, I reach out to them and I'm like, hey, it looks like we have one of these guns and it's a 9mm and it's experiencing the hammer follow. Because their position is, I don't believe they've seen the hammer follow. I think it was a theoretical that they caught it. They're claiming that nobody had reported hammer follow. Well, we got a gun with hammer follow and it's in 9mm. And he goes, that's not in the recall. And I'm like, And they just sent over some paperwork and they stopped talking, which is fine. So, we'll get it over to them. I mean, it's, again, these are just hanger queen gun. Video queen guns to us. I think some people have probably oversold some of this Tisas stuff. I'm not going to bash on. I'm not bashing on Tisas, but I just want to I want to preface this. I want to say some stuff. So, okay, like we had a 9mm I think it's Rock Island 1911 had come through. And, we messed with it a little bit. I wasn't really interested in it. It was, belonged really to a former employee. And, the gun worked fine. It was kind of rough. And one of the things with the gun was, it was so rough, it would kind of tear you up a little bit. Like it really hadn't been worked over on the outside. I will say this about the Tisas guns. I'm not saying they're dehorned. I'm not saying they're anywhere near like a Wilson or maybe, I don't know, really Nighthawk. I've never fired a Nighthawk. I don't think a Nighthawk or a Brown or whatever you'd want to, your favorite du jour higher end 1911 maker. But these guns cosmetically on the outside, these Tisas, they're a lot better than Rock Island. But the Rock Island didn't have hammer follow. So, I can see people getting these guns for $400 or $500 or $600 and, being excited about them because look, a gun works great if you never shoot it, and a lot of these companies, they get away with selling these 1911s. They get away with selling most guns. You see it in the 1911 market. You see it in the AR market definitely in the AR market. These companies, they mass produce these things. They don't really manufacture them to what I would call a real technical specification. They just kind of slap them together. And if you don't put a bunch of rounds through these guns or shoot either, semi-recreationally, semi-professionally, professionally, quote, yeah, my Bushmaster, has never failed me. I mean, if you've got 1,000 rounds through the gun in 10 years, well, of course not. And I think with some of this stuff, that's kind of what we're looking at here with these 1911s. I think Tisas is probably going to be in the same way. And when we had done an article on, was it NRA show we went to? I had taken a picture, looked at some of the Tisas guns, didn't really give it a whole lot of thought, but I noticed the prices were going up. And, the appeal of a Tisas was these $299, $399, basic US GI guns. It's like, that's pretty interesting. Oh, and even a 9mm, that's really interesting. But now I'm seeing these guns. They're the Marine Corps gun, the Raider gun that we got. That gun was in the 600s, and not that that's a lot of money, but it is. And at their NRA show, I'm seeing these guns 900. 1,000, 11, 12, and you can see what's happening. Tisas is going to, they're starting off as a baseline, and they're going to start to pull their prices up, and you're going to start to see $2,000, $2,500, guns just like Kimber. And it's like, those guns are not worth that at all. I think Tisas at $400 is pretty interesting. I think a Tisas at $600 that has hammer follow without a round fired through it is prima facie not that interesting. I will say this as one final thing, because we're already getting some blowback from some of the forum people because, we don't really shoot these cheap guns, but now that we've got some of them, they're finding our content, and some of them are getting ass hurt because their ego's wrapped up in a gun. Mind you, I break all guns. I break every gun. And I will say this, I promise you, there are 2 more Tisas pistols, 1911s, that we will buy. They don't exist yet, but we even if what's happened, we would still buy them because I'd want them as video queen guns. I would want them to make the M4, the original M45, or what we would call the Musoc 1911. It's got the Pakmar grips, and sometimes they're kind of two-tone. They have like a Colt or whatever government frame and maybe a Springfield slide and a Pakmar grips and, a couple other things, maybe Ed Brown grip safety and a few other things. I would love if Tisas knocked off a Musoc in 9mm and, with a ramp barrel. I would absolutely love that. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. And they released the gun that this past SHOT Show. Again, as a video queen, they did I don't know what they call it, or even what it's technically called, but it's the gun that basically Delta Force used, say in the 80s and 90s, until they switched to Glocks. And, they make that gun in 45. It's got the recess protected, Bomar style, rear sight, and a few other things that, whatever they've done that they've identified go on that gun. We would absolutely buy one of those in 9mm. Again, have no interest in 45. If I'm going to shoot a 45, I'm going to shoot, kind of a real one. So, there's a good chance we'll buy more Tisas if they keep doing some of these repops. But it's you guys who are, coming at me because you're not happy because the gun has hammer follow. I'm sorry. Doing the best we can. And no, I'm not going to not produce the content because, we're not gear reviewers. But frankly, I need the content. And it was like, son of a bitch. I let a camera set up, everything set up, let's just do this. It'll be fun, easy. And it's like, well, I got to film something. So here's the news. Okay. Other news, kind of things going on. Apparently it's been announced that Trump is going to do a speech at the NRA show. I had actually seen, who was it? I guess it was John McCain at an NRA show in Louisville, whenever that was. A while ago. I guess Trump is, I guess between the trials, he's going to have some time. He's going to do probably at the banquet, or the one they do it during the day or later in the day. I don't know. I'm curious how that's going to go. Mr. Bumpstock guy. I know Trump's going to, and I'm going to vote for Trump. If you're new here, I'm going to vote for Trump. I give money to Trump. So, I do more than most people for Trump, because I actually give him money. So, just take that. So I feel like I can criticize him. I don't know if it's going to go all perfect for old Donald Trump at the NRA convention. There's going to be some pretty unhappy people there. I don't think that particular thing where the speech is given, it gets too rowdy, but, I'm like, they may, Secret Service may not have to, they're obviously going to check for weapons as they should, but they may want to check for tomatoes as well. So, in other news, I was kind of half right and half wrong on this. So, Wilson Combat has released another version of their X-frame double stack 1911s. They're called the X-frame guns. It's, the big double stack gun that everyone sees me shoot, that I just absolutely think is the best double stack in the game. It really is. It's like a 1911 meets Glock. It's unbelievable. These incredible magazines are not crazy fat. I don't need to go through all that. So, my gun and the original X9 has a screwless, bushingless grip panel system. And, to have that, you've got to have some kind of little slots in the frame to slide the panels into. And to get these panels out, you got to kind of disassemble the frame, the back of the gun, to get the panels out, because they're held up against, they're in slots, and in the frame, and they got to be locked in the back so they don't come out because there's no screws, right? So those are the original X-frame guns. And then Wilson has come out with they call it the SFX, which is solid frame guns. And what they did is they basically decided, why don't we make these guns smaller? So they just made the frame solid without any windows under the grips. And they put, they didn't use the track pattern. I think they used the X-Tac pattern. That's why they called, and I actually held one of these at the same NRA show that I looked at the Tisas guns, and they're nice. I mean, they're EDC X9 guns, but they're just thinner, and I have large-ish hands, so honestly, they're too small for me. And I just want you to think about that for a minute. That's pretty amazing. Like, I mean, a double-stacked 1911 that's too small. In what universe does that exist? Like, for real. Like, these 2011s are stupid fat with their stupid magazines. And I know that Staccato's trying to slowly wean people away from that. And, we'll see what they do. We have a new gun with new magazines that aren't backwards compatible. There's a clue. But anyway, so they've got the X9, EDC X9 with the grip panels. They've got a solid frame one, which is the thin gun, it's just a metal frame, and I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a thin gun, like, again, it's incredible. But, it's like Wilson is, they're a manufacturer, and they're looking to streamline things. And so what they have done is they have now come out with something called the EDC X9 2.0. And these are the way they look to me, and is they are solid frame guns, so they're small, like the solid frame, machined like that, but they don't have the slots and stuff to insert the grip panels, obviously, because they're the solid frame, the panelless. But what they've done, I'm guessing, I haven't handled one of these, is they've put screws and bushings on either side of this SF frame, and that is now called the EDC X9 2.0. And there's a new grip panel made of the same material, but it's obviously a different shape, that screws on. So this is very, very similar in mechanics of how you would put grip panels on a regular slim, single stack 1911 with the grip screws and the bushings. The goal of the original EDC X9, one of the goals was, obviously, to me, I mean, Bill never told me this. I don't know Bill Wilson, but it was to get rid of the bushings and the grip screws, because that adds a lot of width to the gun, and it's also something they can come loose. Well, they've done that. They did that. They've progressed. Their customers like having the grip screws and maybe panels that they can take on and off without actually disassembling the frame. So they just went ahead, and now they're modifying the solid frame to put these grip panels on with screws and bushings. And so, but what they've done is they've discontinued the original EDC X9 guns. Internally, they're the same. It's the same parts, mechanics. There's so many. I wouldn't even worry about getting grip panels. VZ makes the grip panels. Maybe I'll try to reach out. Maybe I can get an extra pair of white grip panels for my X9, because I'm, obviously run that forever. I guess I'm an OG X9 owner. But they're discontinuing the X9, and they're going to this 2.0. And you can tell the reason they're doing that is it's so they don't have to machine two completely separate frames when they're making these double stack guns, because obviously Wilson is selling every one of these things that they can make. So if they can basically, when they're machining it, and they can just tell the machine, do most of the machining, and it's like, well, do they put in the checkering pattern or whatever, the X-Tac pattern for the grip, or do they just drill into screw holes? And that way, I don't even know if there are bushings in the gun. I'm guessing, but it's the same frame, where there's enough of a difference between the original EDC X9 and the 2.0. it's obvious that this is a simplification for manufacturing for them. The slim frame gun has won the war. The original EDC X9, while in many ways you could say is superior, I mean, of course I'm going to say that. That's what I own, right? I mean, it's fine. I'm not really saying that. But, they're going to, it's to a new generation, and it's, slimline into manufacturing. So I did not think, we wrote an article, I thought, well, they'll probably make both of these and they'll slowly phase out the X9. And I published that article, and I think it was the same day. Wilson on their website, bam, discontinued EDC X9. So it's like, well, I guess my gun's collectible now, right? So let's change gears here for a minute. There is a gun that has come out that has gotten my attention. And I need to tell a story to explain why. It seems that Springfield Armory has repopped the original M16A2. If you're not familiar with the A2, it's the there. I mean, I'm not like the Colt guy. I'm with transitions in the sights. I'm just going to give you what I view the A1 and then the A2. So the A2 has the hand guards that are more durable. They're not the triangular shape of the A1. And they have a better sight that's more adjustable. I mean, you can definitely see in the A2 the beginnings of turning the M16A1 into a known distance range camp carry service rifle. And that's where they put that A2 buttstock on, and that's that long target buttstock so they can shoot bladed, which is not, it depends on what you're trying to do. That buttstock did not age well, but neither here nor there. The Colt well, let's see, what do this Colt call them? Colt Sporter 2s? Is that what they called them? Sporters? Colt Sporters? Back in the day, let me tell the story. Back in the day, I had an AR-15, and it was a H-bar. So a Colt, if I can remember what it was called. So it was a neutered gun. So it was 20-inch barrel. It had an H-bar barrel. It didn't have a bayonet lug on it, so I must have bought it. Maybe it came out. No, maybe it was before the 94. Because I think it was before 94, because Colt was kind of, they were taking off bayonet lugs just to try to win favor with people, I guess, or whatever it was. So anyway, it was an H-bar, and it was a 20-inch gun, and it was a nice gun, but as I was training and things were changing, and you kind of get into the early 2000s, late 90s, or especially in 2001, you started seeing, the M4 really started to, what ended up becoming the M4 and really started taking over. And so people may not remember this, but back in the day, you would see people, they would take their Colts and they started chopping the handguards off of them. And this gun had a fixed carry handle on it. The M16A2, the A2 gun has the same fixed carry handle as the A1. And so people were chopping the handguard down and welding or somehow attaching some kind of rail or weaver, or sometimes Picatinny rail, and, trying to get basic, red dots on there. And there was like an arms mount you could put, into the carry handle, but all the cool kids were chopping their shit down, and all this, and it was like, and they were getting, adjustable stocks, and and I'm getting ready to start doing some of this stuff. It's like, man, this gun, like, it's it's got 20-inch barrel. I wish it was shorter, and then I got to chop the handguard down. Then it's like, well, even if I chop the handguard down, and it's stupid heavy because it's an H-bar, and I ended up selling it. And so I don't have an M16A2. I haven't had one in a long time. I've been around them, forever. We've had cops show up with full auto ones at the range. So, it's like, I've been kind of looking around. There's the Nodak Spud. I don't really care a whole lot about PSA. But, that Nodak Spud guy who's now, I think, running the H&R group over there at PSA, he has enough credibility with me with, the cloners. Again, not that I'm a cloner, but it's like, I don't know, should I get one of those guns when they come out? Or maybe I should get a parts kit, or I could buy one of the real ones if you can find them. And because I lived through this, and I don't think anybody will say it, the whatever Colt called the M16A2, semi-automatic. I don't remember what they called it. So let's call it the AR-15A2. I'm of the opinion that most people didn't like that gun because most of them were H-bars. And I started looking around, and you see them for sale, and it's got those I'm not saying that the H-bar sucks. But what I'm saying is, for anything other than like position shooting on a known distance range, like working a VTAC or barricades or switching or corners or shooting left-handed or off-handed, it just sucks. It just fucking sucks. And so, I think people have started to realize that now that the SP1 or the M16A1 has kind of had a resurgence, that the M16A2 is definitely coming back because it's got better handguards. If nothing else, just the handguards and the sight is kind of worth it. Well, they're expensive. It's hard to get them. Springfield Armory has an M16A2. They're called the, let me see, what do they call it here? They're calling it the SA16A2. Obviously, semi-automatic or Springfield Armory, you take your pick. And, they're, I don't know, I thought they were going to be like whatever they're going to be. But, I've seen some people saying that they're $1,100, $1,200. And it's like, geez, maybe. I don't know. I'm not telling you that I know anything about this SA Springfield Armory rifle. I guess I'm kind of asking you if you think it's worth buying. So if you bought one, tell me what you think. Are they nice? Do they meet the A2 standard? Do they seem well built, or do they seem like they're crap? Or should I just go ahead and get a parts kit from a Colt and just go ahead and put a Colt together? Let me know. Podcast@john1911.com. Oh, but we're not done. Let's talk about other acquisitions. Just because we're not producing as much content as we normally do, and maybe we're not even shooting as much as we normally are, which I hate to admit, but it's a sacrifice I have to make this year. We're still buying guns. So, I was in Shooter's Supply in Loveland, Ohio, and on some other business, and in their case, they had one of the new production Colt Python stainless steel guns. Ideally, I would have liked a blue one that just came out, but the Colt Python gun, and the new ones. And I'm like, I have never seen one in there before, and it's on my long-term list. What would you call the Colt Python? The American Korth. We've wanted a Python for a while. I like to shoot 38 in it. I've always respected the Python. I'm aware of the problems with the Python. My appeal to the Python has always been the double action pull. On revolvers, on a lot of these guns, I like double action. I don't know. If I'm going to shoot single action, I'll shoot 1911. Like, I want these guns for double action. Beretta 92D, double action. Colt Python, I'm hearing it's got a really good double action. It's on our long-term list because for years we've been looking around trying to find a quote shooter grade Colt Python from the original runs, and we've never been able to find anything that's worth even trying to just salvage. And most of these guns are not even functioning that would be in a price to justify what we would do with it. So and we've all heard for years. Everybody knows they'll never make the Python again. The whatever for the bluing isn't there, and the know-how for the people, those people don't work there anymore. And not only have they retired, they've died. And so you can't even bring them back to consult. And so it has lost the ability to make these and make that and whatever that's gone. So the guns are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, that turned out to be bullshit because Colt has released now a second run of Colt Pythons. Supposedly these guns are, and I would agree, probably better than the originals. They might be more durable because the Colt Python was notorious for kind of coming out of time. And apparently the double action is better on these than the originals. Maybe not the single action, but the double action. One of the kicks I keep hearing about the Python, it's not really quite clear to me, is that the rear sight sucks. The new one, I guess Wilson Combat does make a reproduction. Probably some other people do as well when we fire ours. But anyway, we're in shooters and, on other business, and look in the case, and there's a stainless 4-inch Python, which is exactly what we want. Like, maybe a 3-inch possibly if I take a deal on a 2, but it's a 4. I think it's not a true 4 because it can't, something with Canada, but it's a 4-inch gun, which is kind of what we want. So we could, do stuff with it, revolver stuff. And, it's, sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm talking to the owner and he's like, yeah, that's, came in from an estate. I'm like, it's used. It's a used Python. It's like, holy cow. Like, I love used guns. And, apparently, the person had passed away, I think probably at the end of last year. And this gun, or maybe earlier this year. And then this gun was given to him as a gift, very late in his life in like December. And subsequently, it didn't hardly have a turn ring on it. Cause I was like, are you sure? Cause I was like, can I work the action? It's like, I don't see a turn ring. He's like, there's probably one there. And there's a little bit of powder residue. So long story short, it was used. It's like, holy cow, a 4-inch right there, a new one. It's on the long-term list and it's not $5,000 and it's going to function perfectly and it's used. So yeah, we left with it. So, if you listen to the podcast, you get to find out first. I don't know when I'll get it on video. Maybe this week we're going to start doing some more content as we're getting some of the petty anti-contractors off the range. But do you have one of these Pythons? Do you prefer the stainless or the blued? How do they shoot? What do you think? Did you have to replace your rear sight? Have you had any other issues? I don't know. Has any of them ever broken on you like, some other people's guns? Send me a message at podcast@john1911.com. Okay, we've been going for a little while, so let me give you a little bit of politics, then I'll give you a quick police blotter, because we still have to do the police blotter, and we'll go ahead and toss this one for the night. In political news, there's been a lot of hoo-ha about Krista or Kristi Noem? She's the governor, I think, of South Dakota. She has apparently gotten into a lot of trouble because she, I guess, wrote in a book that she took a dog out to the farm and shot the dog because the dog bit something or whatever it was. And everybody's all kind of in a hoo-ha. And I get it. I do. I'm not in favor of shooting dogs, but I can't help but personally feel, one, she probably shouldn't have put it in her book. It's kind of like, don't tell people that there's no Santa Claus. Let people have the fantasy. The other fantasy that people have is if all these people that grew up and said, oh yeah, we had a dog, but he went to go live at a farm. Yeah, your dog didn't go live at a farm. Your dog was taken out and shot because there was something wrong with your dog. And people don't want to hear that. I know of an incident. I know of a situation with a dog that was extremely dangerous 2 or 3 years ago. Dog's name was Boner. Boner was a pit bull. And Boner was crazy dangerous. And Boner, and you're going to come at me and you're going to be like, wasn't my dog. And you're going to come be like, well, it's nothing wrong with the dog. It's the owner. No. You don't understand. This dog had gone from a couple different owners to a place where they could control the dog and whatever, and it was just determined this dog was too dangerous. You couldn't interface with this dog at all. Like I remember, like, oh yeah, Boner came up to me and they were like, don't reach down and pet him. I mean, it was just crazy. And so yeah, Boner went to go live at the farm with, all the fields and the deer, and he has all the room, and he could run and be happy and get out of the city. And so that's what, they told the original family, I'm sure. And I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that, unfortunately, a lot of these dogs that get vicious, they get to go live at the farm, including Kristi Noem's dog. So, all right, let's do the police blotter. We'll go ahead and toss this. This was pretty funny. So, there's a story out of Brazil. This woman, she goes into a bank and she's wheeling in her uncle, who is obviously dead. Like, he just died because rigor mortis hasn't even set in yet. And she's trying to get him to, quote, sign a loan. It's like a Weekend at Bernie's thing. So they've arrested her and whatever. And, this guy's, it was a loan for $3,250. A mother of 6 who was seen on video wheeling a corpse of her uncle to a bank and trying to grip his hand over a pen has revealed that she was not aware that he was dead when she attempted to get him to sign for a $3,200 loan. Erica de Souza, 42, claims she does not recall asking Paulo Braga, 68, talking a branch on April 16th in the Rio de Janeiro, whatever. She was arrested. And, she's like, I didn't know he was dead. Second story, police blotter, steakhouse in Kansas. Kansas is a big steak place, right? I think Kraken would know that. Steakhouse worker 21 charged with intentionally contaminating food. Quote, bodily fluids, inundated with complaints. We'll leave that one there. You can read the story if you want. And the final police blotter, dramatic moment in Utah. House is blown up in huge controlled explosion. Utah officials were forced to blow up a house in a controlled explosion after the homeowner found old dynamite. I mean, I've never dealt with old dynamite, but I do know in like the old cowboy movies that, everyone that watched old cowboy movies, old dynamite sweats, and they would, the water would drip off of it and go bang. And like, I don't know if that's true. It was a cowboy movie. Like, I don't, some EOD guys are gonna be like, that's not how it works at all. It's like, hey, look, it's a movie, I got news for you. That shit with Rambo didn't work that way either. So, Unified Fire Authority blew up a house in Holiday at 4 a.m. on April 24th after the FEMA owner found large amounts of old dynamite stashed in her deceased husband's belonging. According to officials, the explosive material had been passed down from generation to generation before the elderly woman found it. She knew it was dangerous. She didn't know the extent, but she knew she needed help taking care of it, the chief said. The assistant chief believes that the dynamite was about 40 to 60 years old. Firefighters were able to find 25 sticks outside and 8 in the basement near various chemicals. United Fire Authority blew up a house. Let's see here. Footage of the moment of the house detonation blows. Yeah, they blew up the house. They evacuated, I don't know how many people. Let's see, what was it? Trying to see here. The explosive material had been passed down. Some of these articles are written by AI and they repeat, so you got to watch them. As a result, approximately 450 homes were evacuated in Holiday before the blast. 450? I don't know if I believe that. That's a lot of homes. I don't think it's 450. So if you live in Holiday, Utah, please send me a message at podcast@john1911.com and confirm how many people were evacuated from the dynamite explosion at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, this wraps up episode 336 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see any more stories or pictures, links of anything we discuss, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night, and we back, baby.